a good lunch. Let's get started now. Cool. So today we're going to be talking about front-end debugging, which kind of sounds boring, but it's like actually really important. You can follow along at go.614.io/debug1. Those are the slides. Cool. So well, first of all, does anybody here not know what debugging means? Like raise your hand, don't be shy. Anybody? Cool. Debugging means when you have things that go wrong in your code, you try to find out what they are and fix them. It's pretty straightforward, right? Back in the old days, when computers were these huge machines that filled entire rooms, people had to go in and find physical bugs that were hiding in the machines. So now it's just finding typos in your code and other stuff. But yeah, debugging is really important. Everybody has to do it at some point when they're writing code. And it's a really terrible process if you don't do it right. It's very frustrating. It's sometimes it's 5 in the morning, your project is due in an hour, and you have this weird bug you can't fix. It's at that point in your life where you want to have these strategies in your mind so you can be more efficient about how you solve your problems. Cool. So debugging strategies just in general, and then I'll go into more specific front-end stuff. How to debug. It's you need to have a detective mindset. So first, what you want to do, let's say you have a problem in your code, it's not working somehow, this is throwing an error somewhere. You want to first isolate the problem to a change in the code you made or a commit. You can do this by commenting out code or reverting back to previous versions in your repository. Just you want to know what exactly somewhere in your code is causing the problem, right? You want to try to reproduce the bug, so you want to know exactly what's causing it, what inputs make it fail. And it's kind of run experiments and see, just figure out cause and effect. This input causes a bug, but this input doesn't. So it'll help you formulate in your mind a theory of what's going wrong. You can also step through the code. So you can if it's a huge chunk of code, you probably don't want to go through individually line by line. But you want to make sure at every step, if you're calling a function here, make sure your output is expected, things like that. This is kind of abstract, but we'll go into exactly what this means later on. This is a workshop. You'll go just that's what I do all the time. People always run into the same problems, so chances are there'll be a post somewhere, help, I found this, and I don't know what's going on, and someone will be oh, this is what you type in, and they'll save your life. And you can always ask us, obviously, or your teammates, or anybody else you see. Cool. Above all, don't panic. You want to be able to think clearly when you're debugging and not freak out, don't cry, don't break down. It'll all be okay. Sometimes. So how to avoid debugging. So I guess before I talk about what you can do to debug, I want to start off and kind of mention the things you can do to avoid getting yourself in that situation in the first place. Basically, you need to write good code. It's a very abstract. What does good code mean? I'll use a few pointers that are kind of specific. You want to keep your code simple and organized. Make it indented properly. Don't give yourself weird variable names. And separate your functions out into logical kinds of things. If you are still learning how to code, this might be hard to understand. But as you get better and better, it'll come naturally to you. Just be organized in general and make sure your code is an accurate reflection of what your thought process is. Documentation is really, really freaking important, okay? I know everybody hates to do it, but in the end, it can be a lifesaver. You want to document your expected inputs and outputs to the important functions in your code, as well as explain what's going on in your complicated bits of code. For example, for me, whenever I have a group project that involves API endpoints, I always document what is expected input, what is expected output for those endpoints, so that when my teammates try to write a function, it's really important. Don't do it at the last minute. Do it as you're coding. It makes everything a lot cleaner. Avoid copying and pasting code you don't understand. So this is a mistake people make a lot, and it's understandable. When you're still learning, it's easy to Google something, and people are oh, copy this in. Just we copy it in, and it all works. But this might introduce some bugs in your code that you don't fully understand. So just whenever you can, rewrite the code on your own. Try to understand what it's doing. This is like kind of makes sense, right? And don't repeat code. This is a big one, actually, I see a lot. If you are like having the same like sections of code in different parts of your project, what might end up happening is that you will change like part of the code somewhere because you're like, playing around with it, making like features, whatever. And later on, you're going to change that in other parts of the code. So whenever possible, if you see repeated code, that means you can like write a function that does that and just call that function in both places. Something like that, right? You can always like avoid repeating code. That's the beauty of computer science, right? And this is like something I might not have explained earlier, but like writing tests is always good. I guess like we don't really teach in this class, but like if you know how, it's good. Tests are like little like pieces of code that you run automatically that just make sure like your functions are giving you what you expect. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much into that, but it's really important. Cool. So let's start off. I'm going to introduce you to like this really secret, cool thing. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this before. Some of you probably have. It's really cool. It's called the Chrome like Dev Tools, Chrome Inspector, Chrome Console. If you guys don't have Google Chrome already, you guys should all like download it right now. It shouldn't take too long, but I think most of you guys should. So I will just show you what's going on. You can go to this webpage, follow along at go/Fritter app, and cool, let's get started. How do I do this? Okay, so if you go to any web page on your browser and you right-click, where'd my mouse go? And you click Inspect right here. Wait, I'm on the wrong window. You click Inspect right here. It'll bring up this like really cool thing called Chrome Developer Tools, and it like looks really complicated. There's a lot going on. There are like some really, really advanced features, but for our purposes. I'll just go over the basics. Have you guys anybody raise your hand? Have you seen this before? Most of you probably have. Cool. Yeah. Oh my god, I almost went on. So if you look on the this part of this panel in your console, you can hover over and see what different parts of your CSS or your HTML layout are. You can do this even in the so you can see how big each container is, where it is. So it's this is a header. It's the highlighted part right there. This is a pop-up just hidden. A container for the rest of the page's content. It's cool. You can do this and click on specific elements to select them. And when you have an element selected on your page, you can scroll on the side and see what the CSS properties and styles are for this particular element. So we see right here that style.css is giving this button this styling, right? You can toggle this on and off, border, all this stuff. So you can edit your web pages live, basically, with this console. And you can also scroll down and see what's being overridden, right? So you see button, there's a background color that's being overridden because there's a button-like class. It's also giving it a background color. You can go to the bottom and see these are the very default styles, right, for your browser. You can see this stuff, and at the bottom you can see the exact computed dimensions of the object. So the actual button text is that, but then there's a margin of 20 on the top, whatever. This is really helpful sometimes if you want to see what's causing your layout to look a certain way. If you also go, you can force elements to have. Oh, you can also edit things. So if you inspect this, you have this button selected. You can just click on this and change it to be and that's how people take screenshots of really shady things Mark Zuckerberg posting about some fake stuff on Facebook. You can like edit your pages live. You like close it, it looks real. Someone like messed my web page, but like really I just changed the client side HTML.